What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are here with yet another series recap for the Toronto Blue Jays. This one, we're starting off a 9-game road trip in Milwaukee up against the Brewers. We're going to break this one down in a different way today. I'm going to try out a new style, new format, see if you guys like it. If you do, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. But with that being said, if you're excited for this one, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Alright, so we're going into game one, and the Blue Jays have not done very well. The only series they've won was the first series against the Athletics. They're on a losing streak, and Jacob Mizorowski is going to try and keep that losing streak going for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he does a pretty successful job. You know, he strikes out Dalton Varsho, one of like our only good hitters to start the year, and then he gets another one of our only good hitters to start the year to fly out in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But then in the bottom of the first, Kevin Gausman looks to get the Blue Jays rolling, because if there's one thing that has been very inconsistent about the Blue Jays, it is the starting pitching besides Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease. So he's going to do his part. But then with Nathan 2 for 22 Lucas at the plate, he would strike out, no surprise there. And then Kazuma Okamoto lines out to end the second inning. Andres Gimenez takes strike 3. Umpire says that's definitely a strike. Andres Gimenez says that's definitely a ball, and the ABS says that's a strike, so please sit down. John Schneider looks very thrilled with that challenge call. Brandon Valenzuela would strike out, and Ernie Clement would fly out to end the top of the third. Meanwhile, the Brewers are like, oh yeah, you know that baseball thing? Yeah, we're supposed to hit that. Kevin Gausman gives up a single, then he lets up a walk, and then there's 2 runners on for whoever the hell this is, and then he just decides to, you know what? It's Jake Bauers. That's my bad. He just smacks a 3-run home run out of the stadium. Just like that, it's 3-0 Brewers, I guess. That's what happens to the Toronto Blue Jays. No offense, and then the starting pitching is good, and then it just falls apart. Kevin Gausman would strike out the last batter to end the inning, but it's like, it's kind of too late, buddy. You should have done that batter earlier, but, you know, it's all good, I guess. Kazuma Okamoto would strike out again. No surprise there. But then Andres Gimenez, who has been a different beast to start the animal. Are you the same animal but a different beast? Shout out Kobe Bryant. Smacks a solo home run. It's 3-1 Blue Jays. Just like that, we're back in the game. And then Brandon, there goes your momentum. Valenzuela would ground out to end the 5th. Never fear though, because Kevin Gausman owns your poverty franchise. He's back on track, retiring the side in the 5th inning. And then out of nowhere, Dalton 35 homer Varsho hits his 3rd of the year, makes it 3-2 Brewers, only 32 more to go. And then Pat Murphy comes out of the bullpen. He's like, yeah, bro, 2 homers a year out of the game. And guess what? It surprisingly worked, because Eloy Jimenez would ground out to end the top of the 6th. Kevin Gausman back on the mound to start the bottom of the 6th, but that is not a good start. Gives up a leadoff double, and then John Schneider's like, yep, I've seen enough too. You're out of this game. Brings in Mason Fluharty. Mason Fluharty looking to get some strikeouts. That is exactly what he does. Gets 2 strikeouts in a row with runners on 2nd and 3rd. You love to see it. Now with Braden Fisher on the mound and Gary Sanchez at the plate, it would not be a good sign for the Toronto Blue Jays, as Gary Sanchez would absolutely hit a piss missile to left field, giving the Brewers some cushion. It's 4-2 Milwaukee. Dalton Varsho though in the 8th inning looks to make a comeback, hits a blooper in the gap, and then Lennon Sosa goes from 1st to 3rd. Umpire says he's definitely safe. Pat Murphy says, actually, I think you're definitely out, and the replay room agrees with the umpire on the field. Call stands, runners 2nd and 3rd. The Blue Jays would look to capitalize off this, as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would hit into a ground out, but it brings a runner home. It's 4-3, and then Jesus Sanchez also gets into a ground out, and that would not bring a run home and ends the inning. But then it's a scary sight for Toronto hitters, as they would have to go up against Trevor, I just let your favorite team back in this ball game, McGill. Miles Straw comes on to pinch run. Davis Schneider comes on to pinch hit earlier in the game, and he's up again, and he hits a ground rule double, and now it's time for Kazuma Okamoto. He's struggling lately. What will he do? He hits a single into left field. 1 run's gonna score. We have a tie ball game. And then since Trevor McGill loves the Blue Jays so much, he's going to let us score another run on a ground out. 5-4 Blue Jays lead. And then Ernie Clement comes up and ropes a single into left field, scoring Kazuma Okamoto from second base. 6-4 lead going into the bottom of the 9th. Surely we don't blow it. But maybe I spoke too soon, because we have Jeff, I just let your favorite team back in this game, Hoffman on the mound, and with a runner on 3rd. That's going to get past the infield. 6-5 Blue Jays. That's okay. Still a 1-run lead until this happens. That's going to score another run, 6-6 Milwaukee, and John Schneider's seen enough. Pulls Jeff Hoffman from the game, brings in Louis Varland. Louis Varland, what you got? Louis Varland strikes him out, ends the inning. We're going to the 10th. And now with a runner on second for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's going to rope a double up against the wall. That's going to score the runner from second. It's 7-6 Blue Jays, gives us the lead in extras. And then Miles Straw, the absolute GOAT, he's going to come in and he's going to score 2 runs. You'll have to freaking see it. And now with Louis Varland still on the mound for the Blue Jays and a 9-6 lead, they're going to give up one more run off this misplay, 9-7, but that's okay because they won't blow it this time. Louis Varland shuts the door, gets into some trouble, but gets out of it. Blue Jays take game 1, 9-7, clutch performance from the Buds, and they'd look to ride their momentum going into game 2 on Jackie Robinson Day. Today, we all wear 42 to salute an absolute legend. And the Blue Jays would get off to quite a hot start as Dalton Varsho draws a walk. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. ropes a single into right field. And then later in the inning, Jesus Sanchez comes up and knocks in the run with the sac fly, giving the Jays our early 1-0 lead. So Dylan Cease would have a 1-0 lead, one of the best starters to start the year behind Kevin Gausman. And he would look to continue to dominate after this ground ball to Guerrero. And then he strikes out Garrett Mitchell and strikes out Ortiz to end the second inning. Brandon Valenzuela would look to get us going in the third with a single to left field, but then John Schneider, who put Nathan Lucas in the leadoff spot, I guess he wanted this to happen because here comes Nathan. There goes your momentum. Lucas grounds into a double play, but that's all right because that means we get to go back to watching Dylan Cease's absolute masterclass of a performance back on time, and he gets out of the 4th inning with this nice play from Andres Gimenez. And then Andres Gimenez is up in the 5th and he looks to hit a foul ball, but then I guess the left fielder just decided to be Spider-Man for a day, rob him of a foul ball, I guess. Dylan Cease though would pick up right back where he left off, striking out the first hitter of the 5th before giving up a single to Ortiz. And then Brandon Valenzuela forgot how to throw the ball, dropped it on the transfer. Ortiz steals second, but that is a-okay because the Blue Jays defense would get back on track with this ground out to first base, moving the runner to third. But then with 2 outs, Dylan Cease would strike out the final hitter of the 5th. Then Brandon Valenzuela would remember how to play defense in the 6th inning with this absolutely amazing sequence of events. First that defensive play, then the strike him out, throw him out. Brandon Valenzuela gets out of the inning practically by himself. And even though they're playing indoors, the rain's like, you know what? The roof can't stop me. I'm coming in anyway. And I guess that messes with the Blue Jays hitter because Brandon Valenzuela strikes out. Then Davis Schneider strikes out. Then Dalton Varsho would get a single, but it would be all for nothing as Miles Straw would eventually strike out as well. Then the mission would be simple for Tyler Rogers. Get as much weak contact as possible. And that is what he did, except he could not record a singular out. Tyler Rogers was getting too much weak contact and the Blue Jays defenders did not know what was going on. Brandon Valenzuela, what are you doing here, bud? That was clearly not going to go foul. And then William Contreras comes up and smacks a single. Again, weak contact, but finds a hole. Blue Jays defenders could do absolutely nothing. And the Brewers would eventually score 2 runs because of this. Only 1 ball left the infield, and that ball was hit like under 40 miles per hour. Don't know what to tell you, just unlucky stuff. And now with Abner Uribe coming into the ball game, it would not be a pretty sight for Blue Jay hitters as Ernie Clement would strike out, and then Andres Gimenez would come up to the plate looking to do something with 2 outs, but eventually he would just fly out. And the bats, maybe they're not back. I spoke too soon. They only score 1 run in this game. Just a bunch of unfortunate events for the Toronto Blue Jays that unfolded in this one. I don't know what the hell that dice celly is, but it is not tough, okay? The Blue Jays look to win this series in game 3. Spoiler alert, that does not happen. But yeah, even though I probably shouldn't have gave that spoiler alert, that is my bad. I deeply apologize about that. The Blue Jays, I guess they would try and win this series in game 3 up against the Milwaukee Brewers. like I said, that does not happen, and it doesn't get anywhere close to happening. As to start the first inning, Davis Schneider, the leadoff hitter, would fly out for the first out, and then Dalton Varsho would strike out along with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who would also strike out to end the first. The Blue Jays starter for this one is Patrick Corbin, who would end up being pretty dominant actually for them in this one, and gets the first hitter of the game to strike out, and then gets William Contreras to ground out to end the first inning. Pretty nicely done. And then after uneventful second inning for the Blue Jays, the third inning would look to be much better as Andres Gimenez would get us going with a leadoff double, and then Ernie Clement would hit a single, runners on the corners for the GOAT, none other than Tyler Heineman himself. Let's see what he will be able to do. He's going to put down the greatest sacrifice bunt you will ever see in your entire life. Brings home Andres Gimenez from third base. It's 1-0 Blue Jays. And then after more dominance from Patrick Corbin, getting him to check swing, go around for strike three, it would be Tyler Heineman's turn to throw out a runner at second base. Anything you can do, I can do better. Gets out of the inning. But now in the fourth inning, a rough day for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would continue as he strikes out again, but then Lennon Sosa would look to get us going with a ground rule double to left center field, runner on with 2 out, but then Kazuma Okamoto strikes out, so it doesn't matter. But then the scoreless streak for Patrick Corbin would sadly come to an end as Bryce Turango would knock this double to left center field, putting a runner on to start the bottom of the fourth. And then Blue Jay demolisher William Contreras comes up, knocks a single, runners on the corners for none other than Luis Rengifo, who gets the ball to Davis Schneider, makes the grab, close play at the plate, but he slides in just ahead of the throw, and it's a sac fly, 1-1. And then Brandon Sprott would continue to dominate us as well, as in the top of the fifth, he'd get Andres Gimenez and Tyler Heineman both to strike out to end the inning. And after Jones gets on to lead off the bottom of the fifth for the Brewers, a well-known pickoff artist, Patrick Corbin would get him in a rundown, and they'd tag him out at second to complete the pickoff. And then Patrick Corbin would get the last 2 batters of the inning to strike out. You'll love to freaking see it. What a day. You know what? Dalton Varsho seems pretty tired of scoring no runs. There's a runner on first, and he's going to hit a single to make it runners first and second. And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. comes up and says, you know what? I kind of like scoring no runs. He's going to hit into a double play. That makes it runner on third with 2 out. And then Jesus Sanchez flies out to the left fielder. Not a sac fly this time, buddy. They're out of the inning. Ladies and gentlemen, here's where the bullshit of all bullshit starts, because with Tommy Nance into the game, the Brewers laid down 1 bunt, not too outrageous. 2 bunts, okay, what are you doing? 1 out with runners on the corners. A third bunt is laid down. I repeat, a third bunt is laid down, and that's how the Brewers score their run. I have never seen this before in my life. And now with Trevor McGill into the game, it would start a kerfuffle with the Blue Jays bench, because as you will see shortly, Trevor McGill starts to rub the ball on his pants. That is illegal in the sport of baseball. Blue Jays are sus of him using something, I guess, to grip the ball better. Strikes out Davis Schneider, so it must be working. And then also strikes out Dalton Varsho. I guess it must be working as well. Talking his talk on the way back to the dugout. Not sure why he's saying all that, because, you know, they have obvious suspicion to be mad, because, you know, he just broke a rule. Vladdy tells him to go sit down, and he listens to his dad. Good for him. But then with the Blue Jays down to their final few outs, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would hit a single into left field, but that is about all they would get, as Eloy Jimenez would come into the game, ground out to first base, and then Lennon Sosa would ground out to second base, would push the runner to third, but eventually the Brewers would get out of the kerfuffle as they get Kazuma Okamoto to ground out, ending the game in a 2-1 score for the Brewers. Blue Jays offense struggling after series, and they can't seem to find anything. But if you're a real fan like your boy, you know it's too early to give up on the boys. They'll come back eventually. They just got to turn it around. And if you're a real fan of the channel, you'll appreciate how much time and effort it took to make this video by liking and subscribing and hyping the video up. If you guys enjoyed this format style of video, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll keep producing them for you boys. But with that being said, it's been your boy Brandon. I break down the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'll see you next time. Peace.